Just a moment.
I know what some of you are thinking. Yes, I already streamed this game, and yes, I just did a highlight compilation where I gave it the coveted and highly sought after SCXCR I don't hate this badge. But there's more I felt like saying beyond that. If a game series sticks around long enough, it tends to have at least one identity crisis. A moment where it tries to adjust to a changing audience or follow trends, which usually ends poorly. Alone in the Dark, despite only having 7 full-fledged entries across more than 30 years, has experienced this at least 3 times. 4 if you count the terrible Uwe Boll movie. Wait, no, technically 5 times. There was an Alone in the Dark 2 movie as well. Did you know this happened? Yeah, I didn't either until I started writing this script. This series started as one of the earliest instances of polygon-based 3D characters on pre-rendered backgrounds, and, along with Sweet Home, is credited as one of the earliest examples of survival horror. But after the middling, we have Resident Evil at Home New Nightmare, the mid-2000s Tire Dumpster and Everything Else Nearby Fire, and the just plain awful over-the-shooter/chore simulator Illumination. The bar was set pretty low for this series. Enter Alone in the Dark 2024. Game developers, stop doing this. There are 7 non-promotional Alone in the Dark games, and 3 of them are just called Alone in the Dark.
Stop it!
Screw it, we'll do the mid to late 2000s thing and call this Alone 3 in the Dark. This is much closer to the original Alone in the Dark than the prior entries, but it still differs greatly from it. It features Edward Carnby and Emily Hartwood in the 1920s, as they head to Desherto Manor to investigate something related to Emily's uncle, Jeremy Hartwood. Oh god, I mispronounced Desherto Manor for the entire video. Have fun with this one, guys! That's about where the similarities end. This isn't like, say, the Resident Evil remake, which had stuff added in like self-defense items, Crimson Heads, and Lisa Trevor, but it otherwise mostly stuck to the same or similar gameplay and story beats. I'd say that was 80% remake, 20% reimagining. Alone 3 in the Dark seems like it's 20% remake, 80% reimagining. On the story front, in the original, Edward or Emily arrives at the manor alone to investigate the "YouTube doesn't like this word" of Jeremy Hartwood, walking straight into the seemingly empty mansion all the way up to the attic before being assailed by spooks and having to fight and or sneak their way out, while solving puzzles, avoiding traps, and figuring out why Jeremy did what he did. Also, there's a tree somewhere. In Alone 3 in the Dark, Edward and Emily arrive together at Desherto Manor, which is a mental home now where a few people, including Jeremy, reside. Jeremy sent a letter saying there's some cult the other residents are involved with and they're out to get him, then he promptly disappeared. Edward and or Emily more or less breaks into the manor, and they encounter the residents and psychoanalyst Dr. Gray several times while trying to track down Jeremy. Also, there's dimension hopping of sorts. And a tree. On the gameplay front, instead of the fixed camera approach,
which was the style at the time,
Alone 3 in the Dark is yet another over-the-shoulder shooter.
Which was the style at the time!
Maybe it's the roughly 20 years of seeing game franchises default to this approach, but I'm becoming a bit tired of this. Both Edward and Emily start with a pistol, carry drinks that replenish lost health, and can pick up certain objects to use as melee weapons. I was hoping to see Edward get in the pugilist stance and try to punch monsters to death like in the original game, but no, that's not an option here. Combat and the controls in general feel fine, though I rarely tried using the dodge button. Partially because I forgot it was there, and partially because when I did use it, I couldn't tell if it was actually working. Something they did add is the ability to throw certain objects and either damage enemies or distract and sneak past them. It seemed like throwing a brick at an enemy did as much damage as shooting it. Someone signed these two to the Red Sox pronto. And the Molotovs, while effective, tended to set me on fire as often as the enemies, though for some reason being on fire didn't damage me. Stealth was pretty mixed. I usually couldn't tell if I was sneaking wrong and getting caught, or successfully sneaking up on or past enemies, or if they just didn't notice the player easily sometimes. Then again, in the 5 to 6 hours I played this, I only saw 3 different enemies: Vinesauce, Maggoty Bones, and Tremors Jr. That was in part due to how the game is paced. Environments shift between the Desierto Manor and various mental constructs, sometimes very abruptly. The non-Desierto parts are more combat-heavy, while the Manor parts are more puzzle and dialogue-heavy, at least early on. When shifts did happen in the Manor, I usually was at least a little surprised by them. The game was doing decently well not to telegraph most of these moments much or at all. As for those puzzles, the ones I saw weren't particularly difficult. I won't say they didn't require some thought, as there were moments I'd have to go back and consult old documents or journal pages to figure them out. But each puzzle typically isn't much of a roadblock. Bonus points for the fake-out with the not actually sliding block puzzles. Even playing on the standard difficulty and with the guidance set to old school, which basically means minimal if any guidance, the map would still have spots light up to basically say, you can solve a puzzle or find a thing here. You can move freely around the unlocked parts of the manor, and later on, it does become easy to miss that one spot with a key that you need to progress. But because of the lack of, well, anything else going on in the manor, exploring like this isn't particularly interesting. Interesting is also a word I could use to describe the voice performances. The cast consists of many longtime video game veterans. Even Yuri Lowenthal is here for some reason. But for the two lead characters, they decided to cast David Harbour, he of Stranger Things and Marvel/Red Guardian fame, and Jodie Comer, known for British crime and medical drama TV shows, as Edward and Emily, who were also modeled after how they look. Both David and Emily are experienced actors in the media of film, television, and even live theater, but these were their first video game roles. And it kind of shows. In the cutscenes, they usually sound, at worst, decent. David in particular brings a bit of charm to the role of Carnby here and there.
In that case, we'll just wait in his room. You don't mind, do you? It's upstairs, right?
Wait, you can't.
Don't worry, we'll be discreet.
In the corridor. It's the first door on your left. I'll tell Dr. Gray you're here.
Excellent. Thank you, madam.
But when it comes to things like mid-gameplay dialogue or effort sounds, it's clear this is their first video game role. And while the paths the two characters follow is pretty similar, there are noticeable differences in the cutscenes between them, so that might be a little bit of extra replay value for going back and playing as whoever you didn't play as the first time. And regarding the "is it scary" question that follows every horror game, Alone 3 in the Dark is usually not. There are some moments that can catch players off guard and some decently spooky imagery and settings, but it takes a while for any scenario that's seriously dangerous to the characters to pop up. There's more subtle lingering unease at times than anything outright scary, like how sometimes the document narration will start saying things not written on the page. It takes waiting a few minutes for this to happen, but it's something.
What was that you were telling the doctor? A goat without horns. What does that mean?
You must have misheard me, madame. I said no such thing.
Please, I know I don't look like any of you, but I'm devout. I'm ready to do what it takes.
The game does cap items at 5 health drinks and 26 bullets, but on the standard difficulty, both were so easy to find that, combined with enemies typically not doing much damage, a plethora of melee weapons, throwing items, and the otherwise unlimited inventory — the original game had a weight limit so you would have to drop items sometimes — there's no worry about carrying too much or running out of certain items or space for said items. Overall, Alone 3 in the Dark is fine. Not awful, not awesome, just fine. And being fine tends to end with the game's publisher saying things like, it didn't meet expectations in terms of sales, even though it apparently did way better than Illumination. But you know what? If this is the start of getting Alone in the Dark back to respectability, it's a solid start. Just let the developers have some time to tune up their approach and... Embracer Group, you can embrace the darkest part of my